filtering can do. You can have the ability to watch one particular market, because what happens is you want to have the ability to trade the market that you're most comfortable with, and not have to sift through a lot of markets that you're not familiar with or you don't have any interest in. And that's the beauty of Autochartist. Again, it gives you a chance to speed up your analysis process and do what you want and what you need to make yourself a successful trader. Okay, now that covers the searches of these chart patterns. Inside, Autochartist also provides a Fibonacci search for traders. Okay, and this is not Elliott Wave. A lot of people think it's Elliott Wave, but it's not Elliott Wave. It is the Fibonacci analysis, meaning we're looking for ABCD patterns, which are really the basic patterns that we see with Fibonacci analysis, and we're looking for retracements and projections and extensions using the Fibonacci ratios. So if you go through Forex all intraday today, you see that recently an ABCD pattern just came up for the Swiss franc Japanese yen. All right, so after A, B, C, and D is formed, it's going to give you a list of projections that this market can go to. Okay, when you look at the dollar CAD, you'll see the same thing. This one formed a 3-point retracement, which is BCD, and it's going to give you areas where this market may retrace to. If you want to find out more what these patterns represent, you can click on the I button. You can see that 3-point retracement, what its characteristics are, when it forms, and what it usually suggests. Okay, so that's why this is an important tool to use. And also, you have to remember that the markets have a tendency to rotate. They rotate between high volatility and low volatility. They rotate between chart patterns that are trending and non-trending. And they also rotate between conventional and classical chart patterns and Fibonacci patterns. The patterns where the market is in a range and it's compressing and following particular trend lines tend to be chart patterns. It's then identified by Autochartist. But with Fibonacci patterns, this is where you catch the turnarounds in the marketplace. That's what's the beauty of using a Fibonacci pattern indicator. So while this move here, for example, B to C, may look really good to a chart pattern analyst, maybe he's looking at a down channel, all right, Fibonacci patterns will come in when this market plants a bottom and then turns around suddenly. Sometimes chart patterns can't catch up to the rapid turnaround in the marketplace, so you may want to take advantage of that by looking for Fibonacci patterns. So when you are doing trades and you are analyzing and researching and using Autochartist, you want to make sure that your attack is balanced between conventional and classic chart patterns and your Fibonacci patterns. Typically, if you're not getting a lot of quality patterns because of market conditions, you may want to look for Fibonacci patterns because maybe that's where the activity is showing up, and vice versa. If you're not getting a lot of these rapid turnarounds in the marketplace like we have in these Fib patterns, then you may want to flip back to chart patterns. So it's knowing that rotation that helps you to become a better trader and a better analyst. Okay? Now when you look at emerging patterns on the Fibonacci, you'll see that these patterns haven't actually completed yet, but what the program has identified in this case for the Euro Canadian is an ABCD pattern. And it's saying that we can see AB and B to C, and if we are going to follow these rules, these symmetrical rules that are programmed into this Autochartist program, that we should see a move down into this area. Okay? And if the market does get down to this area as projected, then this is where our retracement is going to be. So again, the emerging pattern is going to say we have a setup developing. There's symmetry. And the mathematics could be that point A to point B, the retracement from B to C is equal to a percentage retracement of point A and B. Maybe it's a 61.8%, maybe it's 50%. And what happens is that once this pattern is identified, then it's saying, okay, this is what could happen. So emerging patterns tend to be more for the aggressive trader. The swing trader wants to be in there first, and the completed pattern means that things have taken place. Now here's what you do. So that's why it's important that you go back and forth between these completed patterns. Here's an example, Australian dollar, Japanese yen on a 30-minute basis. It's saying we have A, B, and C. Now, if this follows suit, we should see a move to D, and it identifies for you a point that would make it a valid forecast to point D. So that's what an emerging pattern does. Again, it's for the aggressive trader, and he sees conditions are ripe for a possible direction change, and it emerges, or it shows you patterns that are taking place but have not yet fulfilled all the requirements. So that's why it's important, again, to balance between the chart patterns and the Fibonacci patterns to get your to get a balanced attack in the marketplaces. And if you have any confusion over what you're looking at, looks like a lot of these patterns, because of market action, are basically retracements or different types of retracements or extension patterns. We do have the ability in Autochartist, when you look at search in your Forex patterns for Fibonacci moves, you get to choose your particular pattern. You get to look at symmetry if you want to see time symmetry. Okay, if you want to see clarity, again, the lower the clarity, the more chop. Higher the clarity, less chop. Then you also have time symmetry, which is very close to uniformity. You either want patterns that are a little bit cleaner, or you want some that have a little bit of sloppiness in there. Again, you're going to choose that depending on how you select your time symmetry. And then you want to look at your minimum price moves too. And then finally, down here are the types of Fibonacci patterns that Autochartist identifies. And that's a 3-point retracement, and it gives the rules here and the characteristics. It may be a pattern which is more complex, like a Gartley pattern, which takes into consideration multiple legs and price and time symmetry. So it's a little bit beyond the scope of an introductory webinar, but you can see that this is how it's constructed. And then we also have 3 drive patterns. So all this stuff is you're able to find in here. You're able to filter by taking out, put it back. You can take out whatever you want, limit your search engines, your searches, and you'll find different ways to look at it. The other thing that I want to note is when you click on this chart, it blows it up so you can see more clear, what you're looking at. Okay, so again, here's that chart pattern we're looking for, that ABC pattern, looking for point D up here. And it can give you a clearer picture of what the price zones are. All right, now getting back to the chart pattern section here. When we select a when I did filtering, I usually filter on non-trending and trending patterns, which are covered at a later seminar. I showed you how to filter using an individual market. Here's an example if you wanted to filter using individual time. You can see that only 15-minute chart patterns were going to come up. Okay, you can filter by specific chart pattern only. You can any one of these factors: interval, pattern, length, and symbol. You can filter on all those. Again, you want to find that personal preference or that zone that makes you comfortable and makes you want to be a more active trader. Okay. Also covered the fact that emerging patterns are going to show you things that are taking place in the marketplace and could. Here's a case where this was an emerging pattern, earlier in the day, say we didn't know what was going on here. We thought we didn't know which way it was going to go, and then finally this pattern became a completed pattern when it broke out. So that's what this screen represents. Here's the point where it's still an emerging pattern. When these candlesticks turned white, that told you that it became a completed pattern. So here's where you start out in the bullpen. You start looking for markets that have good conditions for a pattern taking place. You can watch it, and finally when it completes, you can move over to a completed pattern and actually put a trade on. All right, this is solid quality at 10 bars, initial trend, clarity, breakout. All of these indicate very strong pattern. Autochartist here has identified this as a potential breakdown into this zone. Now, besides looking at that particular zone, you may want to look at other Euro Japanese yen patterns inside maybe higher time periods. These are types of strategies that you can do with Autochartist. You can go through and you can say, okay, I have a particular breakout on a 15-minute chart. What do I have on the 30-minute chart, or what do I have on the longer term charts, 60-minute, 240? Because oftentimes a smaller time period may just be the beginning of a particular move, and then it leads towards something even greater. So those are advanced webinars that will come up later, and they're going to help you see